Guys, before we get started on this video, I'm going to level with you. I was ridiculously nervous, like 24 hours before even teeing off at Regional Open qualifying. Why was I nervous? I was nervous for the reaction. If I play poorly, what the comment section is going to be like. Thankfully, 90% are very positive, and I have to thank you all for that. I really just wanted to get through to Final Open qualifying. The main reason I wanted to get through to Final Open qualifying is because of obviously the way the world ranking situation is now. A lot of the live players go to Final Open qualifying. Challenge Tour players, DP World Tour players that don't have high enough rankings. So this is like the Final Open qualifying is a major event. I just wanted to try and get there. So I was nervous about that as well. I managed to film pretty much every shot. I didn't film the first at all. I was just kind of getting myself into a bit of a groove. I hit a decent tee shot down the first, down the right hand side. There's just so much room down the right hand side. So I just kind of nudged it down there. If it draws back, it's fairway. If it's not, it's wispy stuff, it's okay. Knowing that a driver leads me with like 100 yards into the green, I popped it onto the green, sound 2-putt to kind of get my round underway. Let's get to the second tee. I'm going to kind of comment you through my round of golf. And second tee was a nice shot, actually very close to slam dunking it in, but ended up with a 2-putt, just left the putt on the jaws. Third hole, bit of a pulley one to left hand side, very similar to last year actually, a very similar outcome in terms of what I had left for the second shot. 190 yards to the pin, I've got a 9-iron, so I'm landing it short of the green, coming out the rough, knowing it's going to jump and bounce, and oddly enough it carried very close to the front edge of the green and bounded its way to the very back edge. So it left me around about a 60-foot putt, kind of up and downhill the slope from right to left. It was a big right to left. I got this about a 4% slope using my aim point and put it past the hole actually by around about 4 to 5 feet. So I had a tricky one coming back, but managed to hold my nerve, read it correctly, stroke it nicely, and in it goes. Next over to the par 3, 7-iron from 175 yards, perfect yardage, flag slap bang in the middle of the green. This thing never left the pin. I really thought and I really hoped that it was going to be close. However, it was around about 20 feet away and 20 feet downhill as well. So I talked myself out of this putt a little bit. I was really worried. I was really a bit scared of the putt really. And that was to my detriment because I ended up then leaving it around 2 feet short and then had a little tiddler to finish off for par. Next hole is a really difficult one. I actually double bogeyed it last year. It's a short one, but it's a blind second shot. Water down the left, thick grass down the right, but thankfully managed to bullet a 3-iron down there, leaving myself 120 yards. Now I actually sat this at 80 yards at first, and I was really kind of confused over the ball. Pushed it a little bit, thought nothing of it, maybe middle of the green. It wasn't really hitting this full, caught it a bit off the toe as well, but somehow it still managed to get it way over the back of the green. So probably something close to 65 to 70 foot coming back towards the hole, but managed to roll it relatively stone dead. Again, about 2 feet away, so overall a really good putt from such a long way away. Next two tee shots I've been thinking about a lot, really difficult, tight, long holes. This is a 450 yard par 4, out of bounds left, thick rough and bunkers down the right hand side. Needs to be perfect, and I've been working on teeing the ball low, just opening the stance a little bit and just hitting like a real low peeler, and it was absolutely perfect. There's bunkers down the right which I thought I'd be going into, but I comfortably cleared, and here I am in the middle of the fairway from around about 100 yards, like kind of like a little punchy 54-degree, landing it just onto the green, a little bit of check, pin high, up the slope from right to left. Really fancied this going in as well. But not to be. Level par through the first 4, 3 shots better than last year already. Very similar tee shot down the next par 5, just kind of peeling it off that left bunker, teed it low again just to kind of get that little fade, and then it bounding down there, and it kind of left me with a bit of an awkward one. I had 200 yards into the green, water down the right. I just took the kind of mature option here and just hit a little 6-iron down the middle of the fairway because there's not much landing area, and if you land it on the green it could have easily gone over the back into the cabbage. Pretty good pitch shot. A shot I don't play very often. I got the 50-degree out, tried to run it up the slope. You'll see the big undulation on the next clip as I'm taking the putt. So I had to get it up that slope, and I just about managed to get the ball to stop at the top of the hill. A couple more feet would have been amazing, but it's very, very easy to go over the back. You can see Charlie there at the back of the green. You can't see his legs, and he's just over the back. So this flag is tight to the back edge, but we've managed to convert the first birdie of the day. Because I was first on the tee, I just kind of didn't get a chance to get the camera set up, but I hit a lovely 3-iron into position here, leaving myself 100 yards in again. So went in with a slightly lower 54-degree this time, big bounce and stop, leaving myself around 10 feet for birdie. Go on. 2 under par through 8 holes and cruising. 9th tee shot, again very similar to the last couple where I'm just kind of peeling it off that left hand side, little dog leg left to right, perfect tee shot, nice distance as well, only leaving me 120 yards in. So this was a very long tee shot, but again trying to go for a very similar approach to the last, where I'm just kind of knocking down a 50-degree, one bounce and stop, and thankfully this one went into around about 4 feet. Three birdies in a row and get to the turn in 3 under par. Feeling really comfortable. Managed to kind of talk myself into just kind of saying, like, you were nervous at the start. This is no more nerve-wracking than where you were at the start. If anything, now I had a bit of a buffer really, so I could afford a couple of bogeys and still be quite comfortable. This is where the 10th hole unravelled a little bit for me, just off the fairway as you can see, and it's a 100-yard shot. So I'm trying to play this at 80 yards, and as I watch it back, it's quite a fast downswing. It's a bit of a panicky one in regards to, because I'm in the rough, I've hit it a little bit too hard. It's definitely jumped on me because it's pitched past the flag and it's gone all the way to the very back of the green, which, let me tell you, is a very, very long way away. First putt was very tentative. It was about 6 to 8 foot short. Now, just after the pin, as I'm walking towards the flag there, it's a huge downslope to run off the front edge of the green. So if I'd have gone past the hole by about 2 or 3 feet, it would have probably finished 15 to 20 feet away. So that was definitely in my mind. And when you're further back, that becomes a little bit more prominent as well. So par putt from around 6 to 8 feet. Read it, thought perfectly, and I actually struck it perfectly, and it's just caught that lip and stayed out. So my first bogey of the day. After 3 birdies in a row, we've dropped one back to 2 over par. 11th hole's a par 3, very narrow green, and I tried to hit a tee shot here to be a little bit safer, just trying to keep, the flag was on the very back edge of the green. I was going from middle to front of the green because it's so narrow. And I've just pulled it, which has now pretty much got me pinned high. And I've took the decision here to basically go for the bogey. I'll forget the par, but don't make double. Because if I try and open up one and try and go up that left-hand side of the higher bank, they're more likely to get it wrong than get it right and make double. So a bit of damage limitation on that one in particular. So made bogey and back to 1 under. Slight push down the next tee shot. Didn't think much of it, but actually turns out that there was a hazard down that right-hand side. I didn't know about it. So I've hit the ball down the right-hand side. It's kind of caught the fairway and then gone into the hazard. I've not filmed the rest of the hole basically because I was looking for my ball. I was dropping. So took my drop, missed the green again, but managed to 2-putt. I actually held about a 4 to 5 footer for bogey. So thankfully, it wasn't a double. Next tee shot is a par 5. You can't hit anything more than about a 3-iron, maybe 3 with a push. Gets really narrow and you get a little hazard across the middle. So beautiful 3-iron. Left me with about 240 into the green. So I hit a 3-iron again. Didn't fancy the 3-wood just because of the way the ball could react once it lands. So 3-iron was the option where I could possibly hit it. Didn't quite, slightly into wind. Hit this kind of little low knockdown 58 degree from 50 yards. Probably just came out a little bit hot. Again, it's not a shot I'm massively familiar with, to be perfectly honest. Towards the back of the green, about 20 feet coming back towards the hole. Again, another poor putt though. So this is something that has been quite prominent in this round so far, where I've left pretty much everything short, or it certainly feels that way. This was around about 3 or 4 feet to tidy up. Next tee shot, straight down the middle again with the 3-iron, and this was a really poor 8-iron from 165. For some reason didn't commit to it, just tugged it a little bit. Was expecting it to be down that left side. However, this is what I was faced with. It's landed into the middle of the bunker and then rolled towards the edge. And obviously on my angle from where the flag is, that is an absolute disaster. I tried a couple of different options, tried to get down onto my knees to try and play this. Really trying to think about if I can play it off my knees and just clear that front edge, it can run to the flag, and obviously I've got a chance of a par. What also went through my mind is, do I just make another bogey and just let myself go 1 over par, which again wouldn't have been horrendous. So I've got to take my score into consideration as I'm trying to make the correct decision. This is obviously the idea of just trying to hit this out towards the left hand side, knowing that I'm going to be finishing at best 20 feet from the pin. But I was very, very conscious of just jumping on the knees and just trying to play this shot. I've never, ever once in my entire life even attempted a golf shot like this, which I wish I had done now. But if I'd have got this wrong, it could have certainly led to a double bogey. And that, again, would have really made my round unravel. So just aiming it out towards this left-hand side, massively opening up the blade, and just trying to get as much maybe left to right spin and get as close to pin high from this angle as possible to get it inside of that 20 feet, I think was the right decision. I did want to go for the putt in fairness, and I actually rolled it around. It just looked like it was lipping out. I'd probably, if I'd hit the right pace, it would have gone in. I actually knocked it around about 4 to 5 feet past the hole. You'll be able to see it from here. The ball travels quite a long way to go back in for bogey. So we're 1 over at this stage. Lovely tee shot down the next. The spotter behind me there said that was a perfect tee shot. However, once we get up there, it's not. It's in that bunker from 120. This is one of the best shots I hit today because I had to make sure I got perfect contact. I couldn't afford another bogey now at this stage, having already been 1 over. Took a lovely bounce once he got up there. A nice little ripple of applause from the crowd as well. And up the hill from left to right from around about 25 feet. Real good look at this. Not only about 2 cups left of the hole, so not a huge break. But again, it's a really poor putt. Look how far short that putt is. It's probably a good 3 foot short if you're trying to get the ball to go at least a foot past the hole. Thankfully, managed to tidy it up again, but I actually still have to aim on the left side of the hole and get the pace right to make sure I didn't kind of hit it through the break or anything like that. So we're still 1 over. 5 iron off the next from 180 into the wind. First time we really felt the wind actually, and just kind of punched and knocked down a 5 iron. It was going towards the left side of the green. Didn't think too much of it, so I was kind of happy enough with it. And actually all my playing partners were there as well, as you can see. And as we got to leaving our bags, I was just really hoping that I wasn't going to be that ball down the far right hand side, because that is a really tricky, really difficult position to be in. You've got the grass growing into me as I'm hitting the shot, quite thick grass, an uphill shot from a very, very short distance. So really trying my best to get the heel up and out the ground, get loads of weight onto my left side, because it was a slope, it was sloping towards the flag at this point, so loads of weight on the left side, get the heel up out the ground. Played it really, really nicely, but just landed it probably a yard short, a little bit further. It probably would have gone about a foot or 2 past the hole. Just landed into the upslope. So now I'm left with about a 5 foot putt to save par and to stay at 1 over. This was the worst shot I'd hit all day. Pulled it, massive pull down the left hand side. I can't begin to explain how far left that went compared to where I was aiming. Also, just how the trajectory of it was bizarre. But I got so lucky. I could see the flag just over the middle of those trees, 160 yards. I went for it, hit an 8 iron as high and as far as I possibly could. And thankfully I was left with this for an eagle, which wasn't very far away, about 25 feet up the hill, and a chance of getting myself back to level. But as you can see from the reaction, it was a disaster of an effort. I actually left this around about 4 feet short. Really, really poor putt. Managed to convert the birdie putt, thankfully, because I would have lost my head if I missed that. Smashed it down 18. I actually ran out of memory on my phone at this point, so no film for the last hole, but smashed it down the last, left myself 140 in, and God, it was probably very close to being an excellent shot. I finished about 20 feet away. Just tried to draw it in. It didn't quite come back enough for me.
and I lipped out for birdie. So if I'd held that, I would be going through to final open qualifying. But I didn't. It lipped out. I'd probably, if I'd have hit it 3 inches shorter, it would have gone in. But it didn't. So here we are, sat in the back garden doing this video.
Because I was so nervous, because I had so much nervous energy in this round and pre-round, and the day before I was bloody nervous as well. Once I went under par, normally in my head, honestly, I get a little bit nervous being under par. I'm the type of golfer, and I always have been like this, even in my when I was an amateur. You start me on the first tee at 5 over par, I'll back myself to get back to level. You start me at 5 under par, I will also back myself to get back to level. I'm not a great front runner, I'm a good chaser. The second shot into 10, I literally had 100 yards to the pin, and I was honestly trying to land this at 80 yards. And actually me, now watching that video back, there is a lot of speed in that downswing. And I think a combination of almost hitting like what I would call like a power 80 yards, plus a flyer. The ball landed at 100 because it landed pin high and went to the back of the green. And that was a 60-foot putt coming back. Next hole, I wasn't even going for the good flag. I was trying to hit the fat middle part of the green. I actually had a club, I had a 7-iron, which was going to get me on the front edge of the green. And I'm thinking it's relatively firm. So front edge of the green, bounce and finish in the middle, have an uphill second putt. So I'm trying to palm myself through there, and I've just pulled it. And I pulled it into the worst possible place. And I've basically just tried to make a bogey. I've tried to avoid double bogey. So on 11, I've actually just gone for the bogey, as in like, don't go up that high ridge, go on the slightly lower ridge, get it on the green, give yourself a chance from 10 or 15 feet to hold the putt. If you don't hold it, you're making a bogey, which is fine. Next tee shot, I've kind of blocked it a little bit, but I've thought nothing of it. I've thought wispy stuff down the right, no danger, 100 yards into the green. Only as I'm getting closer, obviously I see the red stakes and my heart just dropped. I was like, I can't, but I did not know there was a hazard there. I really did not know there was a hazard. I didn't film the rest of the hole just because I was obviously dropping and I just having to play catch up a little bit because we'd spent 3 minutes looking for my ball just in case it hadn't gone in. Next hole, 8-iron into the green. It was a smooth 8-iron. I just did the same shot as I did on that par 3 a couple of holes earlier, where I've just kind of pulled it a little bit, caught it a little bit off a pull, slightly toey, missed left. But I've been massively punished there for not the worst shot in the world. And again, I've had to go through a bit of a process of like, what do I do? Do I go for it? And then I got on my knees and I genuinely thought, if I leave this in the bunker, we're looking at double bogey. So I played for the bogey again. I've just gone, like, get it out there to 20 foot, 2 putt, get on. Like you're not scoring in a bad way that you're chasing. So bogeys aren't the end of the world. So I was quite mature in some of these recoveries. Next hole, played it really nicely, like a little punchy 5-iron. All three of us hit the exact same shot. And I'm looking over from the other side of the green as I'm setting that camera up, just thinking, please don't be that far ball on the right-hand side, because that's horrible. It's horrible. Downslope, thick grass, the grass going into you as you're playing the shot. I really had to concentrate on this, and I played it really well. I played it too well. It needed to carry another yard or so, and it probably would have been stone dead. Again, I feel like I hit a fantastic putt on there, and it just didn't go in. 1 over, and to be honest with you, I was happily enough in the car. Off I go. Did not think anything of it. Someone did say to me, hang around for a playoff, but I was like, nah, 1 over is not good. There has to be 6 players in this field that can shoot better than 1 over par, because it's flat calm. The conditions were as easy as it's ever going to be. The greens were quite receptive. You get a very big first bounce, but then the ball could spin back. So the greens were very receptive considering how firm that first bounce was. They weren't fast greens, they weren't scarily fast, they were just a nice pace. And actually to me, they were too slow because I was leaving out. I left so many putts short. So it could have been, it should have been, I should have broke 70. I should have 100% broke 70. I didn't. I'm gutted still now a day later. Unlucky to the other boys. I know they didn't score as they would have wanted to. I was very surprised at Finch's score. I have to say though, I mean, I was nervous, really nervous, and I had maybe 6 to 8 people watching, so thank you so much to you guys that kind of came to support. But as I'm walking down 18, there's there's about 200 people on the first tee, and it's Finchy teeing off, and I'm like, what are you doing to yourself, mate? There's 200 people up there. Like, just golf's hard enough. So I love that he brings people on the journey, and people are invested in watching us and watching us play, and it's amazing. And maybe as my following gets a bit bigger, I'll be maybe subject to a little bit of that as well. But the scoring is really, really hard under massive pressure. And I think I watched his podcast just now, actually, before I filmed this, and he said he didn't really hit many fairways. And if you don't hit fairways, those greens will be firm, bouncy, you just don't stop. 10th hole, for example, I was about a yard off the fairway. Had I been on the fairway, that's a different outcome. I'm looking at a birdie. I'll have a seriously good look for birdie. But in the rough, you're struggling to land greens and hold greens. So he messaged on the WhatsApp, said he was struggling off the tee all day, and if you're struggling off the tee all day, you're just not going to score well around that golf course in that condition. Hence why he probably thought he was firm and bouncy, but it's tough anyway. So the guys did all right. Fry had a hole-in-one, which is amazing. Love that. I had about an hour's conversation with Fryer on the way home. He didn't play great. He said he shot 500 in the practice round the day before, which sometimes at our level is a bit of a disaster. So he had a hole-in-one, that's the main thing. So happy days. The boys, we didn't qualify, we didn't do it, but we move on and we probably just try again next year. Thank you for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like, hit the subscribe. See you next time.